All right, so let's open it up to questions. Any questions in the chat yet?
I've got about five in the chat, and then Evans in stack after that.
All
So
right.
the first one is the age of those participating in our demonstrations and marches are significantly older than those in the street during the anti-war civil rights movements. What can we do to integrate ourselves onto college campuses?
All right. I'll let you go first.
All right. We actually have been doing a lot of reaching out to younger people. One of the things that we're finding is, during the 60s, it was very much a student-led movement from campuses. And now it's different. The students aren't doing that because they're in a different place, and we're seeing a lot of younger people move more towards socialist and communist groups, and that's where they're ending up. So it's harder to reach them because it's not the same as organically happening on a college campus. So what we're doing is we're going to where they are, and we're talking to those groups. We're inviting those groups to participate and work with us in their events. And then we're finding the groups that are expressly young people, the young Democrats, the college uh, groups, the DSAs and our revolutions, and trying to bring them into the movement with all of the people who have been doing this for a while.
I actually did a meeting that one of our members designed the presentation for. She wrote the script, and it looks like it was so long ago that it's not on our YouTube channel. So it sounds like maybe we could. Oh wait, I found it. I'll put the link in the chat. But it's about meeting Gen Z where they are. And it's got some really great information in it. But like Morgan mentioned, a lot of younger people are part of communist or socialist groups. Hell, I was an anarcho-syndicalist when I was 18. I thought that the labor unions should run everything without any kind of, leader at the top. And I think what a lot of younger people don't realize is that in practice, those systems don't always work very well. And so we still organize with those groups. So a couple of people were upset that the Denver communists were on a flyer with us for an event we did a while back. But I explained the reasoning, that that's where the young people are and we want to connect with them. We can still show people that there are multiple ways of doing things, but I don't blame them. I mean, democracy has never worked for anyone, I want to say, under 40 at this point. I'm 43 and I don't own a damn house. So, it makes sense why they're not always looking this direction. So that meeting has a lot of good ideas about how to reach out to younger folks. All
All
right,
right,
what's next?
next question. Need to learn how to get a rapid response number set up in probably Signal in New Mexico, and they are ramping up here. We've just thrown down the gauntlet to ICE with HB 9 that prevents municipalities from contracting with ICE for incarceration use, threats to arrest ICE by a DA here. How did Corn get set up?
But I wouldn't be able to answer. Um, I don't know that much about the inner workings of corn. Somebody had a link to a list of rapid response networks nationwide. Um, Sean, if you want to poke around and see if you can find that website again, then maybe we can post that in the chat. But there's also what I can do is see if we did a meeting about that with we had Lena from Corn speak, and so I'll see if I can find that one and drop it.
Yeah, so I would refer you to CORN, which is the Colorado Rapid Response Network. and talk to them, and they will be much better at helping you set something like that up than we are. And I do believe we have a video of them speaking to our group on YouTube. So if you don't want to talk to somebody, you can go and watch the video, and it should give you information on how to contact them and how to start something up. So next question is, can't wait for March 28th, but what is happening in between now and then?
There's a lot happening. So the events that I listed off tonight are just what's coming up this week. So there is another signal group. If you join our Solidarity Warriors group, then I can introduce you to the signal group where you can see all the flyers. Actually, let me just grab that. It's it's not vetted and no one can post in it except the admins, but we'll post the flyers for whatever's coming up. So that's a great place to keep an eye on. But there are events happening almost every day right now. And we're working on oh, so I forgot to mention our event on Friday, which is of course the most important. All right, maybe not most, but we are doing a letter delivery to Governor Polis. It's a letter that is signed by 460 indivisible groups across the nation. It's being delivered to all governors in all 50 states about asking questions about how the governors, attorney generals, and secretaries of state plan to safeguard the 2026 elections. We have Phil Weiser, Secretary of State Jenna Griswold, and State Senator Julie Gonzalez are going to be speaking. So please join us. The rally starts at 12:30. And Weiser is going to be the first speaker after I do a quick intro. So yes, that's going to be an awesome one, and we would love to see you all there. And then we'll keep you updated on what we have in the works after that.
Excellent. All right. So the next question is, what type and frequency of communication happens between Solidarity Warriors leadership and other national groups?
There are groups that are like in different states. You mean like 50-51? I guess
I
I would say we all come together for the national protest days. We work with a lot of local groups on different protests. We have been doing a lot with Denver Immigrant Partnership teams and also the Colorado Bridge Trolls. But as far as on the national level, we have a state representative that works for Indivisible National, and they handle that kind of stuff at the national level. But we work with the grassroots chapters of those groups here in Colorado.
Friday presentation. All right. So the next, well, I can answer that question too. I actually have historically avoided uh, connection with the national organizations. I do occasionally get on the National Indivisible call on Thursdays, and I communicate directly, mostly with other local groups, and then move up. But I don't directly talk to a lot of other national organizations. I'll talk to the Colorado chapter of a lot of organizations just because that's who we were working with. But I don't speak to a lot of national leadership for anything. Um, and then Evan, you're next. Go ahead and ask your question. Thank you for being patient.
Thank you. Always. My peace is informed by my power. Um, a quick little bit of table setting. If I could humbly ask for about 5 minutes. Um, I am I'm not a Denverite by nature. I'm from Portland. Um, so I've seen things go really, really bad. And I was at the protest on, what was that, the 30th, Friday? Um, and I ended up giving a little speech. I'd also like to inform you as to my background. Um, on one side, I am the or great grandson of Holocaust refugees, and on the other side, I am the seventh generation grandson of the first governor of Kentucky. My father is a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist who narrowly avoids assassination, and I give a fuck. Pardon my French. So I'm running for state rep, and in fact, in I would argue the most populous district, or at least the most important district within 500 miles. I am the only independent candidate. Um, so I'm dying. My body's betrayed me, and soon I'll be dead. 2 years, give or take. And there's a beautiful little girl out there who will grow up and never know who I am. And I will never have the chance to dispense the beautiful, ineffable gifts that I have, the gifts that all of you have too, the things that define and betray us as a species. I can't. And this fact was decided for me. I can't give you everything, but I can give you this, I hope. I was not for my entire life practically spoon-fed visual media about rooting for the underdog, fighting against villainous tyrants just to be brainwashed into complacency by a fascist regime, while people I love are violently subjugated. The people who clothe me, the people like when I was bare and fed me when I was weak, the same people who maintain and support America, and most importantly, people who choose America, even when America doesn't choose them. It's incredibly sickening. How much closer to your doorstep does the death of society have to be before you stand resolute against it? Who will they kill? Whose death will finally awaken you to the severity of this tragedy? Listen, like, I've never experienced true fear as an adult until now, and I'm scared now, and I'm scared and I'm angry, just like you all probably are. This isn't normal. This isn't okay. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad that this is going on, but that means that something is deeply wrong. This is an issue that defies partisanship. It defies reason and civility, and it echoes history, and it is transcendently unacceptable. Your liberty is all that you have. As surely as the sun will soon set on me and on all of you beautiful people too, I am likewise acutely sure that liberty is not only worth fighting for, but worth the sacrifice in the lives of the many. The courage of the strong defines the future of the weak, and this dark present here and now urgently demands that courage. It's time to be the hero of this story and not just a victim in the midst of it. I will not comply. I will move heaven and I will raise hell and I will plant the trees that grow without me and I will abandon activism and I will become a revolutionary instead.
Evan, do you have a question for us?
Not specifically.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear from you. But we do need to give other people a chance to ask their question because I'm sure a lot of us agree with what you're saying. And a lot of times we have candidates on separately and not very often because we don't do a lot of stump speeches like that. But thank you for your question. So,
Your time.
Tiffany, the next question is what 14ers have you climbed?
Ah, absolutely none. The best I've done is like a 6 mile hike. I used to go backpacking with my parents when I was a little kid, and it felt like torture. But I do like to go hiking with my dog. I just don't do it often enough. How about you, Morgan?
I drove to the top of Pikes Peak. Does that count? No, I am not a mountain climber per se. In fact, I'm a little disappointed I haven't gotten to ski in Colorado as much as I would like. So, my answer likewise is also none, unfortunately. All right, next question. You have animals living with you. What are they?
I have a 2.5-year-old dog named Hannah. She's a German Shepherd Hound mix. She's my little neurodivergent dog who is afraid of everything. And then I have a cat named Paquita, and she's a slinky little black Halloween cat.
All I've got at the moment is an 8-year-old cat, 9-year-old cat that I got for my daughter. She's a Duluth Calico named Wasabi, and she is one of the loudest, friendliest cats you'll ever meet. Like, she's not one of the cats that like stays hidden and never talks to you and doesn't want anything to do with you. So um, that's that's about what I've got. Um, so um, Next question. I have a question. How did you overcome the fear of doing wrong when you started organizing? Is there a way to break down fear to be open to feedback and criticism within early years of organizing?
Be open to criticism. Um, Let's see. I'm trying to remember. I think so. Here's the moment where I felt the most fear was looking at a crowd of 50,000 people, having only finished my speech the night before at midnight and trying to memorize it on my drive down the mountain, and practicing it all the way up until the moment that I stepped on stage. But what I did was I just said, we're in it now, so we're going to do this. I think about what motivates me, why I organize, which is to bring people together, let people know that they are not alone. I want people to be informed and be motivated to make their own change and do their own organizing. And this question reminds me of something I was going to say earlier. If you are organizing your own No Kings protest, feel free to ask us any questions about that that you have, and we can answer those too. How about you, Morgan? How do you overcome fear in organizing?
Oh, well, so first of all, I failed. I mean, I did a lot of things that just didn't work. And I have been criticized a lot of times for a lot of things that I have done. And what I do is I go into it just making sure that I'm doing what I think is the right thing and letting the criticism kind of fall where it may. And if it's useful, I'll listen to it. And if it's somebody who's just looking to, um, you know, be malicious and tear me down, I don't worry about it. But it's, um, a lot of fear, a lot of the way I got over the fear of doing the wrong thing is trying to do something and see how it worked. And if it didn't work, it didn't work. If it did work, I learned from it. I kind of got over the fear by doing it and by not being afraid to fail and, have 10 people show up at an event or, say something that somebody took the wrong way. Um,
I think it
so,
definitely comes down to a lot of being able to let things go. Um, I was super emotionally invested in No Kings too. And it's hard organizing with a coalition of groups with vastly different views. And so it kind of tore me up and I was just ruined after it. So I have personally committed to being 98% less emotionally invested this time, and just focusing on that we have a good, safe event for folks. And forgive me for turning my back on you. I'm shipping out whistles right now. So I gotta work on that every waking moment that I have.
all right. bear with me a moment. I am trying to keep up with everything. And I'm getting a couple of more questions lined up, and then I will ask the next one.
You want to let Aaron go while you're doing that?
I Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, for the person in New Mexico that was talking about rapid response, there's going to be a training tomorrow. I think it's 8 Eastern with no kings. So I think Tiffany has the link for that. And then I've
Oh, yeah, let me find that. That's not necessarily about setting up a rapid response network. I think it's
what right.
more,
It's the
yeah,
actual training. But that'll give you a good idea and you'll have a recording of that. It'll be on YouTube so you could use that when you do your own. And then I'm putting in the chat a list of groups, or it's actually a sign up. And once you sign up with this, then you'll get the list of groups around the country. And then Tiffany, I sent you a PDF of a list from a couple months ago.
awesome. And Sean put a link in the chat just a minute ago. I can drop that again.
Okay. Then the next question is, what is your position on the checkpoints being set up in Minneapolis? Is there a way to build people's infrastructure like that here? By the checkpoints, I mean the ICE checkpoints that check out cars entering neighborhoods to keep state agents out. Um, is it possible to set something like that up here? Yes. Is it going to be easy? Not necessarily. Really, what it takes is um, a group of people that's what they want to do, and that's what they're passionate about. They get involved in the rapid response network so that they know where ICE is going to be, and then they can set those things up in various neighborhoods. So
There are hyper-local neighborhood groups forming on Signal in Colorado, and I'm sure in other
mhm.
states right now, so that everyone can communicate quickly. All right, so the recording from the last Eyes on Ice training, which was an ACLU training on the know your rights when you're observing ice, and then there were some other great speakers as well. And the link to sign up for the next Eyes on Ice training are both on the No Kings website, which I just put in the chat. The RSVP for the next Eyes on Ice training is right above the big graphic for the recording.
Um, so the next question I have is, will you be sending all the flyers in email so we can find them again in one place? All the links opening right now is overwhelming to both my computer and myself.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Are you going to be sending the flyers in the email as well as the links?
I usually just put the details in there so that there's not as many flyers. But I will put the one that has like all the different workshops in it. I'll put that in there because it's got a lot of detailed information, but we do have an upcoming event section in the newsletter. So look there for anything that's going to be happening.
Okay. Let's see. This week, Letitia James announced a state-sanctioned, state-trained legal observer training for New York. I'd like us to be able to pressure our Colorado State Attorney General to reach out to her and set up a similar effort in our state. Can we do that?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to answer chat messages and listen at the same time. Reach out to the Attorney General and set up what?
State-sanctioned legal training. So I'm not familiar with what they're setting up in New York. Would that is that
I
does
mean,
it have
like
some
legal
element
observer
of
training.
yeah, does it have some element of legal authority to it that would be different than non-state sanctioned legal training, or
I
would
don't
it just
know. I
be
just heard
more
it in
information?
the news today that that was one of the ways they were fighting back in New York. Is Letitia James was having it's state-funded, state-sanctioned legal observer training, and I don't know the details, but it sounded like something that other states might want to be trying to do.
Yeah, that's definitely a great idea. Right now there are volunteer groups doing that, just like Corn is doing. What they call confirmers are what the media is calling legal observers. But it would be great if there were more trainings funded by the state.
Well, I was wondering
Okay.
if they were also talking about Court Watch, because that's another thing that Corn has organized is volunteers to attend court with immigrants. So I wasn't sure if they were talking about that also.
This particular training is just for confirmers who are going to actually go out to the site of where people are reporting that there's an ICE raid, and they're trained to confirm if it's actually ICE or not, and then observe what they're doing.
All right, you ready for the next question?
Yep.
What drives you to keep doing this? Did you ever imagine yourself not doing this?
I guess I'll start at the beginning. When I was 16 years old, I worked at a call center where they treated us like shit. They cut our 10-minute breaks down to 5-minute breaks. And so some friends of mine who were probably in their 20s, and I got together and we decided, even before we decided to try to form a union, we did a little campaign. We handed out these slips of paper that said, I want my 10-minute breaks back. And people could write their name or a message on it, and then they put it in the suggestion box. Once the suggestion box was overflowing, that's when we found out that they didn't even have a key to the suggestion box. So after that, we started working to form a union. I thought it was really amazing and it felt really good to be working with people for justice. So justice has always been really big in my life. That's definitely what drives me to keep doing this. I don't think there will ever be a day that I won't be an activist. I would love to see the perfect world, but I don't see it happening in this life.
For me, activism is kind of the family business. It goes back to at least three generations for me. But I officially, as you know, an adult, got started in 1991 when Operation Rescue came to Buffalo, and we were locking arms protecting abortion clinics. And it's something that I've come and gone with how deeply involved I'm with. But when I moved to Colorado, I, was on the fence of how deeply I wanted to get involved. And the short answer is simply I can't help myself. I almost can't just not do it. So no, I don't see a point where I wouldn't be involved. I might not be quite as involved as I am, having it take up as much of my time. But um, I am in for the long haul. I can't not do it. It's just almost part of who I am. So uh, I hope that helps. All right. Next question is: will this Friday's presentation by Wiser be live streamed? Can't make it in person.
I talked to someone about that. I think if there are enough leaders there, we can ask someone to try to do that. I definitely know it's something we would love to do. But it's just going to be like a phone camera. I don't know how great the sound's going to be. But it's mainly just a live event, but we'll do our best. if anything, we'll try to record it and put that up.
Okay. Next question. Just found out about Indivisible 8238. Are you connected with them in any way? I can answer this. All of the Indivisible chapters are local separate entities. So, in the sense that we are an Indivisible chapter, we are connected with them. I don't have any direct connections with anybody in that Indivisible group. I don't know if Tiffany does, but essentially they are a separate chapter from us that we aren't directly connected with.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of them until just now.
All
But
right.
we are working with, I think, 8 indivisible groups so far on No Kings 3, and working to get even more on board.
Sounds like we're moving along. All right. What can we do to protest Palantir, who are headquartered in Denver? They are literally like the Sauron eye for the US federal government. This is Peter Thiel's evil billionaire company.
So Maureen doesn't even know about this yet because I just got the messages right before the meeting. But someone just contacted me about wanting to do a big protest at Palantir. So our group is gonna have to talk it over and see what we can squeeze in either in the next couple of weeks or after No Kings 3, because the 2 or 3 weeks before No Kings 3 are going to be insane. And then the at least 3 days after No Kings 3, we're all going to be sleeping. But
That
there
sums it
are
up pretty well.
Palantir protests. I think there's one coming up. It just wasn't in the next week, so I didn't put it in the announcements, but let me see if I can find it. And I'll put it in the chat.
In the meantime, one of my pet peeves is going out and marching around in circles and coming back doesn't do a whole lot for me. If I'm gonna march and protest, I want it to mean something. And going to Palantir from the Capitol is something that we have considered in the past, and I fully expect surveillance to increase. That's why we're increasing our security. And I think Palantir is a good object to highlight what the things are going on. But I've said this before in our boycott presentation. There isn't really a good way that we can harm Palantir. We can't boycott their products. We can't stop them from doing what they're doing. We can protest in front of their building as much as they want. But the reality is, until their shareholders start to feel it, they're not going to change their behavior. And I feel that's true of a lot of the other companies that are being boycotted at the moment. But it is important to raise the awareness of what they're doing so that other people know what's going on, what they're surveilling, how they're surveilling it, and what they're allowing the government to do, I think is really the most important part of it. So, necessarily having an event in front of them, I think it's a great idea. I think it does no harm. But I think spreading the message of what they're doing will prepare people to protect themselves better. But, that's my opinion.
It looks like there was actually a shareholder meeting a couple days ago, and General Strike US did an emergency disruption. So that's another reason to join that announcements channel, and I'll put that link in the chat again. And if you don't have Signal, all you have to do is download it on your phone, set up an account, and then you can also download it on your desktop if you'd rather use it on your computer. Because I type much faster on a keyboard than I do on a phone screen.
All right. How do you respond to criticisms of groups like Indivisible receiving funding from billionaires like George Soros? This seems to be a major talking point among conservatives, especially. I'm still waiting for my check.
Right?
All this talk about George Soros funding protesters is, to my knowledge, not true. I have never everything I've ever done has been volunteer, and those things are a lot of times conservatives making a boogeyman to vilify, to go after. Does George Soros donate to Indivisible? I have no idea. But I wouldn't say that his money is any different than any other billionaire's money who's um, giving it to the Democratic Party or senators or left-wing organizations, and his money is just as good as anybody else's.
Come in here.
So I would say is the short version is, if somebody's asking you if George Soros is paying protesters, it's not true.
Here, I haven't read the whole article, but here is an article where local groups responded to claims that their events are paid for by George Soros.
So I hope that answers that question. All right, this next question's interesting. Will we be able to stop Trump nationalizing elections? It says national elections. I'm assuming it means nationalizing. You want to take this one first?
I already talked to Jenna Griswold's office about this a little bit. And he said there's things she's allowed to talk about and there's things that she's not going to talk about because she doesn't want Trump to know what we're doing on that front. But as fucked up as the Supreme Court is, I would like to think that they would respect that part of the Constitution. So I guess we wait and see, but I know that at least in Democratic states, they are prepared to fight. So I think that's definitely something that we'll hear about at our event on Friday. And we will have some more answers for you the following week, next Wednesday.
So this ties into something that's near and dear to my heart, and those of you who've been around a while have heard me say it. Donald Trump's trying to be an authoritarian dictator, and he's following the playbook on how to take over. And one of those things is taking over the elections and rigging them so he wins with 98% of the vote. Think of what Putin wins by, and things like that. And I see this as, another attempt that he's been waiting for to rig the elections so that he can stay in power forever. And his track record is he's going to try and do these things by executive order until someone stops him. So if nobody stops him, if the courts don't stop him and the legislature doesn't stop him, he's going to try and do it. And if he can manage to get the elections nationalized, he's going to rig them so he can win. There's no question about it. Will we be able to stop it? I don't know. It's really going to depend on the actions of people outside of my hands. Um, with that being said, I have also long said that particularly the midterm election, I don't think is going to be terribly important. I think he's going to try and run again in 28. And to that extent, I think we need to be approaching this on how to remove a dictator from power, not how to win the next election. For me, the best case selection in the midterms is we win the House and we win the Senate, and uh, impeach the president and use the nuclear option in the Senate to overcome a filibuster and remove him from power. But once you do that, there's still all of the other people who've been enabling him in his criminal cartel to do the things that he's been doing. And even that I see as limited success. I think, there needs to be trials. I think there needs to be treason. I think people need to be held accountable for what they're doing. And the criminal activities, stealing money from the taxpayers, all of it. And I can go on because the list of things they've done is very long. But when it comes to stopping him from nationalizing the elections, it's possible to stop him, just the institutions that exist need to exercise that power and do it. All right, next question. I've emailed to get involved with the local Indivisible group, but I haven't heard back. Any advice on getting better involved with a local group?
Sometimes they might be listed on the Indivisible site and they may no longer be active, or they switched email addresses and forgot to update their information. I would, let's see, if you want to speak up or put in the chat, what city are you in? Or are you in Colorado?
Yes, I'm in Colorado. I live in Evergreen.
Okay. I will, well, let's see. Morgan, if you have any other ideas on that one, I'm gonna look at the list I have of active groups in Colorado,
Absolutely.
um, and see what might be near Evergreen.
Yeah, I
So,
reached out to Littleton also just because I wasn't sure if that might have more action.
Okay.
my advice would be each of these individual groups are just run by volunteers, and they get overwhelmed, they get just, into other things, and particularly responding to an individual request or email sometimes gets missed. And I wouldn't take it personally. It happens all the time. What I always advise people to do, is do what you are passionate about. Get involved in a group that you either know, like what you do well and you're interested in, or you want to learn about and you want to do something. So that would be my advice. If you don't hear something from um, your local Indivisible group, uh, ask around a little bit. Maybe reach a little further away to indivisible groups that might be a little bit more active, or look for the things that you want to do. Do you want to do mutual aid? Do you want to do organized protests? Do you want to work to get people elected? All of those things are going to determine kind of which group you get connected with. So I would say follow the things that you want to do, or that you do well, that you want to help with other people, because whatever it is you do, there is a need for it, and somebody will appreciate you asking to help.
Morgan, I
you.
do have something to add to this, if you don't
Sure.
mind. So, and this might help. So, I joined a local Indivisible group by going to Indivisible Colorado, which seems to be the umbrella group for Colorado. And they have a list of local Indivisible groups that you can join. So, I clicked on the list, I found two groups, and I emailed both of them. And I got an email back from one of them, and I joined that group. So that might help if you go through those steps.
And I'm dropping some email addresses for you in the chat. Also, I think you got an invitation from someone to join Indivisible Lakewood.
Yes, I saw that. Thank you.
What's
Ah,
next, Morgan?
all right, then I'm sorry. I just put somebody's hand down by accident. Laura, I think, can you raise your hand again?
Reese, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just had a something. I belong to another organization, and um, we are trying to connect to all the different groups in Colorado that are activist groups that are working on this project. Because you know how there's a lot of people in, not being able to communicate. Well, our group has a way to communicate that is pretty good, and you can go from the individual level all the way up to the top and back down to the bottom. I think that if I knew who to connect with, it might help everybody, at least for our state. And I could
So
tell you the name of the group, but I didn't want to do that without asking permission first.
Huh.
I'm okay with that. I know that there is a group that is starting to organize. They've got a meeting Saturday night, and they're organizing chat on Signal. Is that the same group that you're talking about?
No, do you mind if I say the name?
No, not at all. Go ahead.
No Small Act.
Okay.
Um,
Um,
so so they want to have a representative in every county in the United States. They've already gotten a lot of counties in a lot of states, but they're still working on Colorado's really weak. So I'm trying to help build it for communication purposes. So what's this other group? Are they trying to connect the different groups in Colorado too? Because I should connect to them.
I think they're starting in Denver. Um, I don't know that they're trying to connect to everybody, um, but we can get the information to you about that.
That would
So
be
if
great.
you
Thank
if
you.
you if you email action@solidaritywarriors.org, we'll get you the flyer for the meeting on Saturday.
It's actually
Okay?
better if you send me a message on Signal, so I'll put my Signal ID in the chat too. All right,
All
what's
right.
next?
The next question seems pretty tone deaf to cut off Evan Anderson, only to choke up with 40, 14 and get questions. We talked about this in the chat. I wanted to say that, you know, Evan's opinion is important. We tried very hard to get everybody in. We are getting lots of questions and we always go over time. It's not that, we didn't want him to be heard. We gave him a good amount of time. That's more than most people are getting. But since the question came up, I'll give Evan some more time. If you want to talk for a couple of more minutes, that's okay.
I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And again, I don't want to. I'm not going to beg for your votes. Trying too hard's never been cool. That's why I refuse to do CPR. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I'm certified. So I unity is a profound and objectively dignifying force. I ask you, maybe specifically, what empowers you towards fundamental change, and if I can answer that question, that rhetorical question, with a answer that might be fear, that might be distaste for the intensity of the situation that we're up against. And people like, I love you guys. I want to say that people like all of you here, fire carriers and fist raisers and machine ragers, you workers and heroes, men and women, outsiders, in-betweeners, you make me proud to be an American. This is what democracy looks like. Thanks. Unity is a profound and objectively dignifying force, and we are stronger together. And I don't know when things will be okay, but I know that day will be born sooner if this unity can continue. That's really all I have. That's really all I was getting to. Stick together. Stay safe. Love yourselves.
Thank you.
And carry fentanyl.
All right.
I'm sorry, Narcan, because holy shit.
I was like, what?
Oh my God.
We actually keep Narcan at our table now. I got some from someone at the Martin Luther King Parade.
Yeah, fortunately, I am the now ex of a permanent victim of the fentanyl crisis, and so I am 5 feet away from, I think, 7 doses of fentanyl. Or Narcan. Jesus, I did it again.
That's all right.
But
you good?
Yeah, I'm.
All right. I'm going to go on to the next question. The bridge demonstration was a blast, very encouraging. Did our group have someone there gathering names and urging them to join the group?
No, but we were, well, someone was supposed to be handing out flyers because my back hurt so bad that I had to sit down most of the time. But we do hand out flyers about Solidarity Warriors whenever we can. That have a QR code to sign up for the Zoom meetings and our website on them. So yes, we are doing what we can to encourage people. And they have a big announcement. I just got word that Colorado Bridge Trolls are on board to do that protest on the Highlands Bridge every other Saturday starting on February 28th.
All right. Tiffany and Morgan, what are your experiences with doing grassroots organizing before you brought Solidarity Warriors together? You want me to go
Um,
first?
yeah, go ahead.
So I said I started when I was 19. I moved from Buffalo to St. Louis. I was there for Michael Brown and a whole lot of activism. I lived in a part that's called West County that is very white and very Republican, gerrymandered to be so. So in 2017, I revived my Democratic local chapter that had been defunct for 4 years, and then went on to form a group called Missouri Second District for Change, where I wound up being the president for 2 years, which I like to call the Ann Wagner Hate Group. She is a representative that has been in Congress since 2012 in a district that was gerrymandered to plus 20% for the Republican. Um, in the 2 years that we were working on it, we managed to get a candidate within 2.5% of winning that district. And then the Republicans went and gerrymandered it again. But that's kind of where I got started doing grassroots organizing. And we started doing empty chair town halls in 2017 before it was even a thing, because she still, to my knowledge, hasn't had a public town hall, and it's been 13 years now. So that's kind of how I got started. Is that enough?
This is actually my first grassroots group. My organizing experience before this was mainly with the labor unions. I canvassed with the nonprofit arm of the AFL-CIO for quite a few years. They sent me to Boston for 6 months to work on Elizabeth Warren's first campaign in 2012, which was some of the most amazing times of my life. I have really great memories of the team there. At that point, I was an assistant field director. We were sending out 50 canvassers every day, and when I got there, they were doing everything on paper, which meant if someone didn't show up and we had to rearrange who was going in which van, there was a whole lot of scratching out, erasing, and rewriting everything. So I introduced them to Google Sheets and got everything set up that way. So it was a lot easier, but it was still a huge project. We were hiring people because it was only, a week before the election. Not a lot of people are interested in only working for 7 days, but we were getting new people in every day, having to train them in 20 minutes on how to get out the vote work, and then coordinating all the logistics. So it was a lot, but it was definitely a really amazing feeling, especially when she won.
All right. Do you want to tell the story of how we got together, or do you want me to do that?
Um, yeah, go for it. You can tell it.
Okay. So both of us started these groups shortly after the election during the We Are Worth Fighting For phone calls that were put together by 4 different organizations, and they were big Zoom meetings just like this, about different topics and different things. I started one group, Tiffany started one group because there were a lot of people saying things like, write a letter to the editor or call your congressperson. And we felt like we needed to teach people things that they can actually go out and do and say the things that weren't being said in all of these other phone calls. And Tiffany started her group, and I started my group, and it just made sense to combine the two of them together and keep doing what we're doing because there was a lot of kind of pent up energy of new people who didn't know how to get started and how to get into things. So we started with basic movement building. We designed memes with the help. We showed people how to do it. Then we turned those memes into stickers that people could put in the physical world. And then we started teaching them step by step how to get involved, how to start your own group, how to go to protests, what to expect. And we've been doing it ever since.
Oh, I said that's about it.
That's about it. Is there a Solidarity Warriors group in Oklahoma?
No, we've had several people ask about starting their own chapter. No one has yet done that. But there are indivisible groups in Oklahoma. And I know that there are other groups that do things similar to what we do, focusing on actions rather than just words. So I used to start these meetings out saying, this is not a time to air your political grievances. There are other meetings for that. And I went to one of those meetings that was awful, so I left after like 5 minutes. But I think y'all have gotten pretty used to, the way we do things around here, which is wanting to turn the motivation that comes from big protests into actual action in the world.
And first of all, I want to welcome everybody who is here from outside Colorado and everybody who is here from Colorado. Um, I like to say we are an indivisible group, but we are unlike any other group because we do have this national reach. We get people from all over the country every week signing on to ask what we're doing. So when it comes to Oklahoma, it almost doesn't make sense to have separate chapters because you wouldn't want to start your own Zoom meeting the way we're doing here because we're already covering the whole getting people from all over the country. So to that extent, it almost doesn't make sense to have separate chapters. Um, and if you wanted to start doing the things that we're teaching you to do in your own area, you can start a group, but it doesn't need to be a Solidarity Warriors group. You can go and start your own Indivisible group. You can start your own group from any other number of places or join groups that already exist and then take the knowledge that we're giving you and spread it from there. We've talked a lot about um, coordinating with people on the ground in other places, and we would be happy to do that. But at this point, there isn't really a good model to set up a chapter of Solidarity Warriors that would be different than what exists already. Like there just isn't a good franchise model for it.
We will 100% support you if you want to start your own group, or if you want to have your own event. Feel free to always email us any questions you have or join the Signal group.
All right. The Solidarity Warriors, a 501c3 nonprofit. I read about on the website, it did not say. We're a
We are a
501c4.
C4,
Yep.
and that's so that we can have political events, which our event on Friday will probably be categorized as a political event. That's anything that is either in support of or against a candidate. And since all three of our speakers are running for office, that counts as a political event, which is something that 501c3s can't do. We're allowed to spend 40% of our money and our hours on political events. We don't spend nearly that much on political events. Mainly We do protests like no kings or against particular things. We don't do a lot of like candidate rallies.
Cameron, we have not gotten to the question about the bungee cords yet, but it's on my list. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. The difference between a C3 and C4 is that C3s can't do any political anything whatsoever. They are meant to be just charities. C4, my understanding is can spend up to 50% of their time and money. It needs to be below that in political work, and that's why we're a C4. All right, I'm currently unemployed and have ample time to plug in and assist with movements. What is the best place to start? Should I zone in on issues that I feel most passionate about instead of several at a time?
Sorry, what was that?
Um, Let me read it again. I'm currently unemployed and have ample time to plug in and assist with movements. Where is the best place to start? And should I zone in on issues that I feel most passionate about instead of several at a time?
Absolutely. Focus on issues that you are most passionate about, because that's what will keep you motivated to keep working with those groups. If you just join whatever, a whole bunch of different groups, at the same time, you might want to try that out if you're not finding groups that are focusing on what you're passionate about. Join a whole bunch of different groups and see which one really kind of speaks to you. One of the things that we do at our No Kings event is the activist fair, where we have usually between 60 to 80 groups come and set up tables. Part of what we want to do is not only just have a big rally and a march, but get people plugged in with an activist group in their area that they feel passionate and motivated to work with.
And for me, I said this a little bit before. It's always good to get involved with what you're passionate with because you'll want to do it more. Kind of like it's do something you love for your job and you'll never work a day in your life kind of thing. If you're doing something that you're passionate about that you want to work with, um, go ahead and do that. It kind of begs the question, do you want to get involved with something that's very specialized, a group that does mutual aid or immigrant protection or the environment, or do you want to work with a larger group that's more participating in the movement and planning political events and protests and things like that? Um, I think I would say follow your heart. What do you want to do? And then find a group that's doing that. And if there isn't a group doing it, start your own. That's kind of the advice I would give from there. But I would also say if you're looking at getting involved in many groups or multiple groups, it is very easy to get overwhelmed because every group is going to have needs and need volunteers and need help. Just make sure that you don't get spread too thin, and you don't get overwhelmed, and learn to set boundaries on what you're volunteering for and say, that's something I just can't do.
Definitely. I'm not good at that. I think I spend more time doing Solidarity Warrior stuff than I do on my actual job that pays me. But I love it. And that's why, I mean, Morgan makes a very good point. If you really love what you're doing with the group, um, it shouldn't feel like work. It should be something that fulfills you.
Hold on a moment. I'm grabbing a couple of more questions. All right, the next one is actually a suggestion. It says buy a $50 body cam so when recording ICE, if they smash it, you will still have your $800 cell phone. I think that's
Yeah,
good advice.
I know some of the Colorado Bridge trolls always have body cameras on, and I was thinking of getting one. You don't need a GoPro. There are lots of cheap options. I think Best Buy has one that's like $30. Right, what's next? We got 13 minutes.
All
Should we
right.
pick and choose which ones to answer? We could
We're
go a
almost
little
done.
late.
We're getting to
Okay.
the end. Um, this is the one Cameron was asking about. Our local bridge protest group was visited by the local PD. They warned us that we could not attach our letters to the chain link fence with bungee cords. We are looking into ordinance and contacted attorney. Any experience with this type of situation? I
Um,
go ahead.
I think you're doing the right thing by looking into the local ordinances. In some cities, they may not let, there could be an ordinance that says you can't attach things to the chain link fence. I would check out a different bridge and do it there, and see if they tell you no again. I think that's not necessarily why, but Colorado Bridge Trolls, when they do 2 or 3 bridge protests a week during the summer, they always move the locations around. So what we're doing on Highlands Bridge is a little unusual, but that's one of the only places that's really safe for 200 to 400 people, which is how many have been showing up. But yeah, I would try another bridge, but definitely look into the ordinances. I know in Denver you're allowed, I actually don't know if you're allowed to attach it. I just know you're not allowed to leave it. As long as you're there with it, they seem to be okay with it.
Okay. How did you, well, we kind of answered this. How did you two team up on this journey? I had a group, she had a group. I stuck my chocolate in her peanut butter, and that was it. That's an old Reese's peanut butter reference for anybody who's
I
taking it the
see.
wrong way.
Um, yeah, that's basically what happened. I don't even remember how we met, but yeah, we just ended up merging our groups together because we're stronger together than we are separate. And we both had groups on Zoom. We were probably the first couple of groups that started on Zoom. Most of the groups were forming locally. That was kind of the intention of the We Are Worth Fighting For movement. I started mine on Zoom because I live way up in the mountains and I didn't want to drive 45 minutes every week to have a group down in civilization. So that's why I started the Zoom one. I actually had to modify the 4-hour script that they developed for Zoom instead of being in person. But yeah, we've been working together ever since.
All right, we'll keep moving. I have a note. I have a question. So, No Kings 3 is only going to be located in Denver, in Colorado, not other cities in Colorado.
True.
My understanding is it's going to be all over Colorado with the groups that have organized in other places as well. We've talked about maybe trying to coordinate things in one place to have a bigger protest. But right now, I would expect it to be the way it was with No Kings 2. You know anything more?
Yeah. No, so we are bringing in more indivisible groups to the Denver protest, but not all of them. So, the events aren't up on Mobilize yet. That's going to happen hopefully here pretty soon. But once it does, you'll be able to go to nokings.org and see all the different events. I know there were at least 1,200 last time across the country. So it is important that we have events all over. It's just as important to have an event in a red city with 20 people at it, where those 20 people didn't know that the other 19 existed. And now they realize that, there are people who think like them in their community. So every event is important, and we're not trying to consolidate them all in Denver.
Right. Can we protest gerrymandering? I, I,
Sure.
well, yeah, I'm all for protesting gerrymandering, but it's a legislative fix. It's not a fix that necessarily lends itself to a big protest, because it's kind of like, if you have to explain the joke, it doesn't make sense. And if you have to explain gerrymandering at a protest, it's not going to have the same impact. It really needs a legislative fix, which would be lobbyists and groups in, uh, honestly, state government, to get it fixed. So
We can always put pressure on your legislators, including state legislators. Maybe a protest outside their office isn't going to do much, but find out who their donors are and protest outside their businesses, and see how fast things might change.
oh, there was there was a group that was trying to end gerrymandering, and I forget what they're called now. But that would also be a good a good place to start. Um, I think on the list of things that I think this is going to be a hard issue to get people to understand and get momentum and energy behind, as much as, it's one of those things that if you ask anybody, do you like gerrymandering, they're all going to say no. But the people who can make the difference, it benefits. And until we can change that dynamic, I don't think we're going to make much progress on it. And really, what it takes are getting people out of power who, um, are only working for themselves. And this is where the idea of term limits actually comes from. But that by itself wouldn't stop gerrymandering. It needs to be a concerted top down effort, unfortunately, more than bottom up, I would say, to solve it. All right. We are still being lawful when our president is not. Does that put us at a disadvantage? Do we need more loving laws?
Well, we can't make new laws yet, but we gotta take back the House and the Senate and the presidency, to make new laws. But I mean, that is one of our intentions. We want to see an equitable society where, there is kindness and empathy for other people. It does. I would say yes, it puts us at a disadvantage, but that doesn't mean we can't win. So Trump's got the might of the army and the armed forces behind him, but that doesn't mean we can't win. There are nonviolent civil resistance movements all over the world, all throughout history, that have overcome dictators. So it's not just about protesting. The more people that we bring out, that means the more connections we have to the pillars of support. And I'll put that training in the chat here in a second. But basically, those are things like the military, the banking industry, education, like colleges, the media. And so the more people we have at protest, the more people maybe have a family member in one of those pillars. And we can start to influence them. We can start to get them to refuse to cooperate with what Trump wants. And there's lots more that goes into it, but that's the 30-second elevator pitch.
I'm going to put a little bit of a twist on this. I've been saying all along that, the Democrats have been playing baseball against the Republicans who are cheating. And if you're playing by the rules and they're cheating, you're not going to win until you fundamentally change the game. And that's what we're trying to do. And I would also distinguish between what's legal and what's right. And I think if doing what's right is not legal, then that's the just thing to do. Um, and, there is a sense that we're at a disadvantage, but using the resistance and the nonviolence that the way that we are actually puts us at an advantage, because when they try and do the things that are obviously awful, we show it. And then it changes hearts and minds. And that's when people come over to our side and those pillars of support start to come down. And that's how you can make a real difference in the world. So, uh, this question's a little open ended. How can we serve the greater good?
I don't know how to answer that. What do we mean by the greater good? We
Sorry,
do things. Yeah, go ahead.
can I interject? That peace is informed by power, and power is informed by unity, and unity is informed by love for one another. So I would say a good starting place is to stop engendering violence against their fellow man, to turning victims into enemies, um, and instead work together in order to fight the things that control and betray us.
All right.
All right.
At all of our protests, we usually do some kind of food or clothing drive, and work with groups like Mutual Aid Monday or Dasher, to get those items out into the community. And I think it was No King's the first one. We actually put together backpacks for the folks who usually hang out in Civic Center Park during the day, who are unhoused. And we put, supplies that they would need in there and snacks and all sorts of stuff. And then we handed those backpacks out to people before we invaded their space with 12,000 people. But yeah, we try to give back to the community in ways like that.
I would also say that working for the greater good doesn't mean you need to fix the world. A lot of times it's a lot easier to take a piece of it that you can work on, that you can make a difference at, and do that. And it's kind of like we talked about before. You can work in work for the Sierra Club or work for a Native American group, and you can make a difference on that scale. That if you combine enough of those people and enough of those events together, it benefits the greater good. And there's no act that is too small to benefit the greater good. So I would say if you're thinking in terms of changing the world, changing the government, get involved in the groups that are doing the protests. But if you any act of um, righteousness is going to be for the greater good, for lack of a better term. Next one's a suggestion. If you feel our country is in crisis and fly a flag at a rally or protest your flag upside down, fly your flag upside down. I completely
Yeah,
agree. The whole idea of flying the flag upside down is from a boat or a country that's in distress, and that symbolizes that something bad is happening, and something bad is happening, and our country is in distress. And I think that is a perfectly appropriate use of that symbolism.
I agree.
All right, where can I buy a nice looking gas mask?
A nice looking gas mask. Do we need ones that are like leopard print? I would try an army surplus store.
That's what I would recommend. And then I would take it a step further and say decorate it yourself. Get some of our
Yeah,
stickers. Get some. You want some leopard print? They have leopard print kashi tape. Whatever you want to do, make it your own. Be creative with it. There's no limit. I wouldn't think that one off the shelf might necessarily be good looking, but if you're out in the streets rocking a gas mask and tear gas, you're gonna look good. All right.
And there's a link to our shop so you can get our stickers.
All right. Where can I find your songs, Tiffany?
Oh, here, I'll send you that YouTube channel.
All
We'll
right.
play you another one at the end of the meeting.
And this is the last question I've got. Do you know of any indivisible groups in Spanish?
Ooh. I don't know of any offhand. I don't see any on the list in Colorado that look like they would particularly be in Spanish. I think that's a really cool idea if you want to start one.
We can ask Shay tomorrow, and see if statewide they know of something. I find it hard to
Yeah.
believe that there isn't one. I just don't know what it is. But I will say this, if there isn't one, I would fully encourage you to start one. And we will be happy to help you with that. And Indivisible has a full toolkit on how to do it. So, I think this is a perfect example of, if there isn't something out there that there's a need for that people want to do, go ahead and do it. Don't be afraid that you've never done it before. Don't wait for somebody else to do it, or if it's never going to happen. If somebody's not doing it, go out and do it. That's one of the other ways I learned to overcome my fear of organizing. Because if you want something done, sometimes you have to do it yourself. And that means you learn along the way, you make mistakes, and you get better at what you do. So there. Okay. And then Cameron just asked, is there a group that protects immigrants who are
Immigrants who
incarcerated?
there's tons of immigrant rights groups, but yeah, there are a whole bunch of immigrant protection teams in Colorado that work on lots of different issues.
All right. That is all the questions I have. Are there any questions that we missed, or anybody who would like to ask another question? Feel free to raise your hand and unmute yourself. Um, we're a little bit over, but that's pretty normal. But we're willing to answer any other questions you might have.
Can you share resources on how to prepare to attend a protest? Yes, we have a meeting on that. Let me find it. Called How to Protest Safely. I know Indivisible has a training on that too.
Ours is more fun because we talk about things other people don't talk about. All right, Cynthia, what's your question?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
All right, good. I just don't know how to find you on Signal. I'm a little computer illiterate in some ways.
Okay. Do you have Signal installed already?
Yes.
All right, I'll send you the link in the chat here in 1 second.
All right.
Mary, welcome from New Mexico. We actually had a barbecue last summer and had somebody drive up from Santa Fe just to have burgers with us. So New Mexico is near and dear to our heart. And like I said, we appreciate people from all over the country.
Cynthia?
Yes.
Oh, was
Oh,
that
okay,
you
that's
asking
good.
about Signal?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I just put it in the chat. Just click that and then wait for an admin to approve you. But I'm trying to approve those requests as soon as they come in.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Cameron?
Yes, Tiffany, when people were asking, are there groups in Spanish? I think they're talking about groups that may do a Zoom meeting in Spanish. I think that's what they're asking. when we had speakers, we had speakers from protecting the immigrants, and it was a woman, and she's very active in the Latino community, and I can't remember her name, but she would know. She knows a lot about the Latino community and Spanish speaking.
You talking about Dana from Denver Immigrant Partnership Team?
There's that, and there's somebody else.
Okay.
It's their house. I think it has house in it, casa.
Casa de Paz.
Yes, I think that's
Casa
it.
de Paz is an organization that is across the street from the Geo ICE detention facility, and they help folks when they get released. Sometimes they let people out at 2 o'clock in the morning with no way to contact their family. So they have a place for people to stay. They help connect them with their family members and even help them get a flight home if that's what they want.
All right, Rich, go ahead.
Yeah, just real quick on the Spanish visible groups thing. Yeah, I'm in the Philadelphia area, and we don't have any Spanish indivisible per se groups either. But what we do is we've reached out, we've partnered with, we have Juntos and Project Libertad out in the suburbs, and several. I mean, there's so many immigrant protection groups around Philadelphia, and I'm sure there are around Denver and whoever's. And we just partner with them on everything we do, on our food bank drives, on our fundraising, on our protests, on No Kings, everything. We just partner with them. So there may not be any per se indivisible groups, but I'm sure that the local groups have partnered with Immigrant Protection Agency.
There are tons of immigrant rights groups in Denver. Keep an eye out for protests that they're organizing, or look for their tables at protests that you go to, and you can hook up with them that way. If anyone's in Colorado, I can definitely hook you up with your local immigrant partnership team.
And normally I would be happy to do this meeting in Spanish, but my Spanish is embarrassing. I apologize. So we will keep an eye out, but I'm not aware of something. Is there a way to search and mobilize for something that would be in Spanish, Tiffany? Do you know?
I am not sure if that is a filter option.
I think you guys can do interpretation on Zoom, can't you? What are you talking about?
You mean like subtitles?
Yeah.
Yep.
Probably.
Yeah, you
I
can.
haven't looked into that. In Spanish?
Yep. If you click on the show captions at the bottom, it gives you an option for caption language, and you can pick any of the languages that you want,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
the captions should translate. I can't promise. I don't want to speak for Zoom, but that's what it's there for.